pleasure to invite in studio Gary DeLacy a week earlier than what we normally have the school in, but there's a good reason for that. The 18th, you've got a full morning plan, don't you, Gary?
Yeah, we do. That's the 18th is our back to school kickoff with the entire staff. So we'll get everybody together from about 8 to 11, kind of have an opening day message. We actually recognize a service award. The board does that. We did this year. Cy Caves, who works in plant services, will be getting his 50-year service award for the district. So I think the only one ahead of him is Jenny Mann, who's the registrar at Clinton High School. She's like 53 or 54 years. So we've got some amazing stories to tell in terms of people that have really dedicated their lives to Clinton Community Schools, and we have that opportunity. And then there's just there's some requirements of training that you have to do every year through the state and federal government. So we'll obviously do those things, and but it is the one time the entire year we actually have everybody together in one place.
Well, that is great. Cy and I graduated together, so class is 72, so he must have started right with the schools right after graduation.
He probably did. I looked on the list, and they said there he was with a 50-year award.
Well,
so yeah, he must have started right away.
He must have.
Well, and I think Jenny Mann started probably before. I mean, she was like, as a junior and a senior, probably starting to work for the schools a little bit, it sounds like.
That is incredible. That is, it speaks well of our school system.
Yeah, and then I think one of the things we're going to work on this year is telling some of the human stories of our school district, and those are two amazing stories with just the amount of time. I remember as a first-year teacher, I was a game manager for the home football games, and that was my first introduction. Cy always worked those football games and still does to this day, so he's probably got as much Clinton football history as anyone around.
I would think so. Back to school. First day will be Tuesday, the 23rd. Everybody ready?
Ready or not, but yeah, I think we're ready. We still we're still looking to hire. We still have openings in just about every area. Right now, I'm thinking we're around 15 teaching openings. Now, that doesn't mean that we couldn't start school. We have contingency plans. Some teachers may have to shift out of a leadership role or something like that into a classroom to make things work. But we do have plans that we can operate first day of school not optimally. And then we'll just continue to look to hire. I know the board meeting Monday night, we are really struggling with special education para positions at the middle school and high school, just getting interest. So we did increase the bonus in those two areas to see if we can generate interest. It really comes down to meeting student needs and being in state compliance. So if anyone out there, I'm really kind of appealing to parents. If you're looking at having a similar schedule as your kids, you would think no nights, no weekends, same vacation periods. You have a built-in retirement system with IPERS. We're now adding a bonus, those kinds of things. Please take a look at us, and if you are interested, please reach out to either the high school or middle school and ask for either Teresa Schultz or Andy Princeton, and we'll get you on your way in that process to perhaps work for us.
Again, visiting with Gary DeLacy of the Clinton schools. Yeah, staffing no doubt is an issue, not only for Clinton, but for all schools.
Yeah, we're actually in a lot of cases better shape than some of our neighbors, and we're looking at comparative schools. We looked up Fort Dodge is around 35 teachers short. We saw, of course, Des Moines bigger, but 95 teachers positions that are filled, and it is simply a supply and demand issue. There are not enough young people going into the profession right now compared to the retirees or people that are just getting out of the profession, that we're just not meeting the demand. So, I mean, a lot of this is creativity in terms of getting people in conditional licenses and finding ways to get to their licensure in a couple years, but get them into the classroom now. And we're all doing that. And like I said, it is basically in every employee group area. I mean, bus drivers, you can go anywhere I was just with some superintendents yesterday. I think every one of us right now do not have all our route positions filled. So, we probably got a couple subs, but that sub probably isn't going to commit every day. There's a reason they want to be a sub, but we're probably going to lean on those people to try to fill in the gaps, and then we're going to continue to outreach. So, again, if there's anyone out there that our school district will help you in the process of getting your CDL, provide all the training, things like that. I'm actually going through that process right now myself. I'll tell you, Mike Bray's doing a great job with me and has tremendous patience. So, if I'm asking people to do it, I think I need to do it as well. And I know there were times last year they would have needed me to drive. We were that desperate, and we were getting into a position where kids were being dismissed extremely early so we could run them to their activity, but then get those same buses back for elementary dismissal. So you can imagine we're releasing kids like at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, even though their activity may not start till 4 or 5, but it was strictly a transportation issue. I know Pleasant Valley, there was a situation, I happened to be by the high school, and a parent was asking me where the tennis courts were, and this was like 1:30 in the afternoon. And I'm like, well, they're over by the community college, you're pretty close or whatever. And I said, but it doesn't start till 4. No, it got moved up to 2 o'clock because Pleasant Valley didn't have transportation, so they had to get their tennis players up here 2 hours early. But of course, they're missing school, so it does involve, we're missing instruction, which is not good, but strictly because we have a shortage in transportation. So, and I know I'm preaching to the choir. I'm sure employers that are listening to this out here are saying it's not just a school issue; it's everywhere. We're just really working hard to be, optimally, we would love to be fully staffed. I think that's what's best for kids. It's actually what's best for employees, because you're not stretching the current employees even further to meet the needs. So we'll continue to work at it.
Before we take a break for the weather, of course, first day of school coming up, you're not that far removed from your teaching days. What was that first day like for you as a teacher? Well,
usually, believe me, that night before, I did not sleep very well. You'd say, "Oh my gosh, you've been doing this for so many years," but you get that vibe of the first day of school, and there's a little bit of nervousness about it. And usually, I didn't sleep very well that night before, and I think there's genuine excitement. Once I got into that first day and just the excitement of greeting the kids, and at the high school level, you would get some repeats a little bit in terms of, I taught geometry, but now I'm teaching math analysis. So 2 years have elapsed, and now I'm getting some similar kids. And it was always great to get those kids back. Obviously, I coached basketball, so I would get some overlap between kids in the classroom and that. I love the classroom, Gary. That was when I reflect on my total educational career, that teaching coaching side was by far my favorite. That doesn't mean that I don't enjoy superintendency and my principalship at Comanche. I did. You get a closer bond with students, and you really get to know them very well as a teacher and a coach. When you take that principal and superintendent step, you're moving another step away from the students. You just don't get that authentic relationship as you do as a teacher or a coach.
That's a good point. And I would imagine also there's kind of a different feel, like on the elementary level, where you may have the same class throughout the course of the day. They may go to art or music or something like that, as opposed to you on the high school level, where you had a different group coming in every hour.
Yeah, and I was really big into classroom management, and I would do seating charts even with seniors, and a lot of that is I got to learn the names, because I would get 140 to 150 new students, and a lot of times there wasn't, maybe 20 of them are repeaters, but everybody else is new.
Right.
And like you say, you have them for 50 minutes, and then you get a new group, and you obviously need to learn their names as soon as possible. So I was always big into the seating chart. So all my former students out there, it wasn't disciplinary. It was more about me learning your names.
All right. Let's take our break for the weather. It is brought to you by Kelly Heating and Oil.
Got another comfortable day ahead of us, though. We're going to see an increasing chance for a stray shower or thunderstorm. That's especially as we head into the afternoon. Coverage on this very limited to about 5% of the area or so. Temperatures today working into the low 80s. Could see a few more showers, especially later tonight as lows drop into the upper 50s. And still some scattered showers and thunderstorms for our Friday at times. It'll be a cooler day with all the clouds around, highs in the mid-70s.
Partly cloudy to cloudy skies, 71 degrees. Our update brought to you by Kelly Heating and Air Conditioning.
Everyone knows the climate changes quickly in the Midwest. Make your home comfortable all year round with Kelly Heating and Air Conditioning.
Right now, Kelly Heating and Air Conditioning offers up to $480 in rebates, plus additional incentives on a whole home comfort system from Bryant. Whatever it takes.
No matter what the temperature is like outdoors, at least your home will always be comfortable when you trust Kelly.
Kelly Heating and Air Conditioning in Clinton, your Bryant factory authorized dealer.
Again, we continue with FYI. Well, our weather brought to us by Kelly Heating and Oil. And of course, Mark Kelly, you had an opportunity to coach him. We were talking about the Athletic High School Hall of Fame. Now, Mark may not make it into the hall, but he was probably the best athlete in his class.
Yeah, Mark was just I think the first thing when I think about Mark is he was an exceptional competitor. Yeah. And he would really, and I don't think basketball was probably his strongest sport. It probably was third when you look at between baseball, football, and basketball. But he was a heck of a competitor for us. And, Randy Teemer was a big believer in a 1-2-2-3 quarter court press. And one of my memories is he put Mark Kelly at the point of that press. And nobody in all our 14 years together did that position better than Mark Kelly. He was so deceptive. He would dog that guard in the front of that press. And a lot of times that guard might be quicker, but Mark was smarter. And Mark would create havoc at the front of that press. And he kind of, to me, epitomized what I always thought of a Clinton River King or Queen athlete. He was he would work harder than most. He would be smarter than most. And with those two things, working harder and playing smarter, he would compete at a very high level in the Mississippi Athletic Conference. And it's always great that those people stay in the community. Obviously, stayed with the family business, and he had a child that was playing volleyball and that, and so I bump into him occasionally, and he's usually right next to Derek Howard, and those two were on the same basketball team for us, and those were two of our key players on that team. So it's always satisfying to see those. The generations are coming down, but they're still Clinton River Kings and Queens.
And Randy Teemer talked about the competitor of Mark Kelly. He was talking about one time he was maybe a little sick, was running a fever, but was still competing.
Oh, absolutely. And Mark was one of those. We really believed in the 50-50 balls, which are the ones that are loose balls, who has possession. And I tell you what, Mark Kelly's going to win that ball most of the time. I mean, he was willing to sacrifice his body, dive. And I remember opposing coaches saying, we really don't like to play against you guys because our kids know that on that 50-50 ball, you're going to go full out for it. And Mark Kelly would be the first one to go full out. And you know what? There's going to be contact, and you might get hurt. So maybe it's easier just to let Clinton have the ball in those situations. And that was coming from a assistant coach from Davenport North talking to me back in the day, and it was like, yep. And that was one of our themes is we're going to outwork people, and particularly on those 50-50 balls. And when I think of that, Mark Kelly comes right to the top of the list.
Again, visiting with Gary DeLacy. Clinton Community College, the Tech Center. I drive by there, you can see the progress, and of course the progress being made at Clinton High as well. It's great to see that going on just right next to each other.
Yeah, we actually had a meeting yesterday with the school districts that are committed to the Clinton site are obviously Clinton, Comanche, Northeast, and Easton Valley. We were all in a meeting and just discussing, and right now, due to people have heard this supply line things, they're projecting that we may not get into the building until about mid-September, but they do have contingency plans that will get started on August 23rd. And some of that might be at the current tech center at Manufacturing Drive, or in some cases right on the CCC campus. But there'll be a little short interlude there, but they feel like they've got a plan in place that we can get the kids started at those two sites and then eventually move over there. I know Brian Kelly talked about they're looking at an open house grand opening probably in October. So yeah, it's exciting. I haven't been inside that part of the building yet, but I'll be excited. It's going to offer some programming that we've never been able to offer our kids before. Agriculture, we don't offer that at Clinton High, and I know we have some kids that would love to go into ag, and there's so many variations of ag anymore where you can go. And I know for some smaller schools, just to be able to get into the building trades, which are going to tie in with Clinton High School programs, so they'll be building a house. They've never had that opportunity. Culinary, I know Mike Rastrelli for years has said we really need to do a better job of developing our kids in culinary. In the past, we haven't had that up here. They've went down to Scott, and unfortunately, they go down to Scott. They don't always come back to the Clinton to do that. They may find a job down there. So I think having a culinary program up here, I think will help retain and hopefully meet that need for Clinton. And obviously health services, you can go right down the line. I think there's going to be 7 different career pathways that'll be offered this year at the Clinton site. Transitioning, I actually did go through Clinton High right before I came here to give you the most current update. I went to Yord first because I knew how important that would be to you, Gary. So
I appreciate that.
Yeah, no problem. And the first thing was when I walked up on the west side, they're getting those new windows in on the press box. So you'll be one person that will really appreciate that, looking out those new windows, and hopefully more energy efficient. But we are projecting some things are going faster than normal on this project. For example, the mezzanine bleachers are in. We were told that this was going to be something that would happen in September, and we would probably just open the lower bowl of the gym sooner, but they're actually in. So they're actually putting them up on the mezzanine right now. Also, we're reinstalling on the north and lower bowl those bleachers, and those are actually already put together. On that, all the electrical's been done there, all the ductwork's been done. Supply line thing, we will not get the rooftop units until September, so the actual heating cooling won't go into effect until obviously we get those rooftops installed. But all the ductwork inside is done. Painting, walking in there this morning, I am projecting they will probably be done tomorrow. So basically that gym has been painted from top to bottom. And so a brand new coat of paint. There will be new lights. We'll move to LED lighting in there. This year we moved to the shot clock. So that'll be put in. The original stanchions that held the basketball were 1956, so there will be new supports for the basketball hoops as well. So it'll be a true facelift. I'm sure I'm forgetting a few things. Some things you'll notice, the mezzanine bleachers won't have as many rows because they were not ADA. They were steeper than they should be. So to fit it within the space, there's not as many rows in the mezzanine, but now you will actually be handicapped accessible, actually have hallways to walk up. You'll have rails to hang on to. I was always nervous, even myself, getting up there. One of the challenges probably for the KROS broadcaster is because we won't get as many rows, the ladder is going to be a little longer to get into the press box. So just warning you, that will be a change, is that there will be a little longer ladder to get up into the press box. The press box, like I said, new windows, fresh coat of paint, new flooring. I think they're doing something with the counter too. So the Hank Dillman press box, long overdue, will get a huge facelift as well.
I tell you, that press box means a lot to me. And what I like about it the most is, for football. It's great for football because you're close and yet you're up high. You get such a great look. and then the ability just to turn around and do a basketball game or a volleyball match is outstanding.
Yeah, when I first came to Clinton in '85 and saw that setup, I just thought, that is brilliant.
And that was Hank Dillman's idea, because originally there were no windows on the west side of the UR gym.
Okay.
Hank said, why don't you put some windows? Because Hank was broadcasting in what was the old press box on the other side, which was not that high in the air.
No, it wasn't.
That makes it difficult for football.
Yeah, and we'll give you a little nicer working space, hopefully, and that hopefully it'll meet your needs. I think the biggest thing people are going to notice, obviously, is we won't see it so much for this volleyball season because we're not going to get those rooftop units, but getting it climate controlled, I think will be huge, and particularly for graduation. That's probably our biggest assembly every year is graduation, and we always struggle with the heat at graduation. When you put a couple thousand people into that gym, even for an hour and a half, that gym really heated up. And now at least I think we'll do a much better job of having a comfortable environment for graduation.
Mary and I were driving by just last evening on the east side, and boy, that road was closed, and there's so much going on. And you were talking about how it's going to wrap all the way around?
Yeah, when the project's done in 3 years, you'll be able to drive all the way around the building. So the shops building will be taken down and basically a parking lot at that point. And then some of the things with the boiler house and that won't be there anymore. Not that it'll be a lot of parking, but there'll be some parking, and it'll actually be the backside to come into the theater. Okay. Because the theater will be there now, so it'll actually probably provide, I would say, some handicap parking for people that need to get into the theater. It'll be the quickest way to get in there on that. So in terms of we continue to make great progress on phase one. I was in there this morning, and they are now drywalling all the rooms of the third floor. So now it is like, okay, I'm walking in and you're really getting the feel of the rooms. They're in a process where they did the third floor first. So a lot of the infrastructure of the ductwork and the piping and the wiring was all done first. They're currently doing that on the second and first floor, done with the third floor, and that's why we're now getting to the point where closing things in. I'm hopeful. They still feel, and I feel confident that building will be turned over to us in December, and then we'll move over in January.
Got a couple minutes left in the program. You brought up her name earlier in the program. Teresa Schultz is going to be the new principal at Clinton High School. I hope to get Teresa in on the program sometime.
Yeah, I would love to do that. I actually had her speak to Rotary a couple weeks ago just to get her out there, because anytime you're the high school principal, I think you have a more visible face and voice than you do at the elementary level, and that's common everywhere, just given the nature of the high school, the number of public events, athletics and activities. So yeah, I would welcome that opportunity to get Teresa up here and kind of talk about her vision. I know one of the things that she probably would want me to mention, we're really working hard on safety and trying to align with the Mississippi Athletic Conference. So one of the things we are looking at doing for our activities, including football, so that's going to be the first thing coming up, is we're now going to go to a clear bag process. So to be honest, the big handbags or purses won't be allowed. It'll either be clear or don't bring anything in. And it's strictly on a safety issue. I mean, you can just kind of see what's going on in the country right now. We're just feeling that this is probably a best practice safety thing to make sure everybody's safe, the safest environment that we can provide at our events. We are aware that there are other schools in the conference that have already moved to this. So we're just kind of aligning with the conference, but I know it'll be new for our fans coming in there, and we're going to start really pushing and publicizing that, because our first game is August 26th, which isn't that far away, but we want people to be aware that we're going to move to this policy just for the safety of our players, spectators, and so on.
So again, if people are interested in any of the openings, they contact who?
They could obviously reach out to my office, but the Human Resource Office is kind of the hub of the district in terms of those job openings. So they could call 243-9600 and just ask either for West Golden or Rhea Wright. If they can ask for me, and we can get them to the right spot. We are still, like I said, we still have the hiring sign up.
All right. Hey, Gary, thank you so much for coming in. Enjoy the school year.
Yep. Thank you.
You're listening to AM